Here I am talking about my two favorite things in the world, Taylor Swift and, well, more Taylor Swift. Yeah, I'm one of those people. Basically, I'm the luckiest man in the world. Why, you ask? Well, because I'm a Taylor Swift stan. But seriously, if I could do a PhD on Taylor Swift, I would. And I would do very well, and I would boast about it so much in every single one of my videos, you would all unsubscribe immediately from this channel. But here I am, the world's biggest Taylor Swift fans, using science and the best available research to critique Taylor's political engagement and specifically her Twitter account and tweets, telling you exactly why her tweets may be doing liberals, aka Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, more harm than good in the 2020 US election. This is a science channel after all, so there needs to be some science with a healthy amount of Taylor Swift, of course. My name is Hesham Mashhur and I'm a University of Cambridge graduate and student doctor, and this is my YouTube channel Dr. Tell Me Why, where I get to talk about anything I want so long as it's medicine or science related. So today I'll be giving you a brief history of Taylor Swift's political involvement, presenting you with some of her most recent political tweets on the 2020 election. I'll be telling you exactly why, according to science and research, those tweets may be doing the Democrats more harm than good, increasing political polarization in America, basically making conservatives more conservative and entrenched in their views, and thus less likely to vote for the Democratic Party and Joe Biden, who Taylor is obviously asking her followers to support. And to finish off, I'll explain why conservative and liberal brains can interpret the same exact narrative, aka a news story on TV, or a Taylor Swift tweet in two very different ways and come out with two different conclusions. In short, it has to do with language and words and our political biases, and how those political biases influence how we process those words in our brains. But before I begin, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. This is not a criticism of Taylor Swift, it's a critique of her political engagement and a look at political polarization in America today. Actually, ignoring all the science for just 1 minute, I'm so glad that Taylor Swift is finally comfortable and confident expressing her political opinions, and I'm really excited to see where she goes next. I don't think her political activism is fake, and nor do I think she should not be entitled to an opinion about politics out of courtesy of being a celebrity. She's a tax-paying citizen just like everyone else. Except maybe Trump, but that's a different story for another video. Anyway. But before we can get on with it, I need to tell you a little tiny bit about Dr. Tell Me Why. Dr. Tell Me Why is a medical, science, and public health education channel here on YouTube. I make accessible content that's educational and entertaining for you guys to consume, like the rabbits you guys are. And if that sounds like something you want to include in your life, then you should almost definitely subscribe and join my YouTube squad. So, Taylor Swift's career as a political activist began in 2018 when she publicly denounced Republican Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn in a now infamous Instagram post, which is truly remarkable when you realize that Swift had been in the public eye since, well, 2006, which kind of feels like several lifetimes ago. I mean, this is a picture of me in 2006. I was 11 and yeah, it feels like several lifetimes ago. Taylor eloquently explains why she remained mute on politics for the first 12 years of her career in her 2019 Netflix documentary, Miss Americana. According to Swift, the men in her life, aka her management team and record label, and even her own father, forbade her from taking sides for fear it would alienate her conservative-leaning fans, of which she had many as she got her start in country music, a notoriously conservative place. Also, an awfully terrible place for women who dare to have opinions and say those opinions out loud. Yeah, I'm talking about the Dixie Chicks. In 2018 though, Taylor was finally fearless, managing to speak now, filling all the blank spaces with words never in anyone's wildest dreams, and had conservative fans call her a mad woman. And Trump, well, the man.
I'm sure Taylor Swift has nothing or doesn't know anything about her. And let's say that I like Taylor's music about 25% less now, okay? Thank you.
I suppose we can say he got in a getaway car. So why could Taylor Swift's tweets be so counterproductive to what she actually wants to achieve or promote? Well, an important 2018 study found that when liberals and conservatives were exposed to opposing opinions on Twitter, both groups became more entrenched in their views. When liberals were exposed to political tweets from right-wing elites each day for 1 month, they became slightly more liberal. However, when conservatives were exposed to political tweets from left-wing elites each day for 1 month, they became significantly more conservative. And even more alarming is that the data appears to suggest that the more frequently each subgroup was exposed to opposing tweets, the more liberal or conservative that subgroup became, suggesting that this relationship may be more than just correlation, it may be causation. It's thus possible that Swift's tweets criticizing Trump and aligning herself to Joe Biden may be having the unintended effect of making her many conservative fans lean more conservative and thus be less likely to vote for Biden in 2020. It's important to note that in this study, the scientists were testing how liberal and conservative volunteers reacted to reading tweets from right-wing and left-wing elites. Taylor, being one of the most successful and accomplished musicians in the world, is an elite figure. You can't therefore ignore the possibility that Taylor's political discourse may be further alienating conservative voters from the Democratic Party and liberal causes. Taylor Swift and other politically active celebrities may be unwittingly participating in the political polarization of the United States. So how can two different people, a Republican and a Democrat, read the same Taylor Swift tweet and come to two different conclusions about it, confirming their pre-existing political biases and even swinging further to the left or to the right? Well, it's actually all down to language and how your brain interprets that language. An influential study published just this month showed that when Republicans and Democrats consumed the same political media content, their brains responded differently. Basically, different areas of the brain lit up on MRI scans in response to the same political content. Depending on whether the participant identified as a Republican or a Democrat, you could basically predict how their brains would behave under an MRI scan. The area of the brain where the two groups showed remarkable deviation from one another was the dorsomedial prefrontal cortex. It was at the dorsomedial prefrontal cortex that the volunteers processed the words in front of them and used input from their pre-existing political biases and beliefs to turn those words into ideas and conclusions. But not all words are created equal. Some words are more likely to result in deviation at the dorsomedial prefrontal cortex than other words, thus polarizing viewers and listeners, pushing them further to the left or further to the right. Those words fell into two distinct camps: words that carried a sense of risk or threat to safety, and words that carried moral emotional undertones. And a further issue with Taylor Swift's tweets is that they regularly make use of moral emotional language, which risks further alienating conservative voters from liberal causes in the Democratic Party by further polarizing them. You can see this in how many of Taylor Swift's right-wing fans typically respond to her tweets. It's usually not very favorable, often declaring that they will never listen to her music ever again and that they were stupid for ever buying her music. I personally think those people are silly, but it still doesn't change the fact that Taylor's tweets may actually be counterproductive and may be pushing more people away than drawing them in. This is obviously a really thorny topic, and honestly I have no idea if it was a brilliant or a terrible idea for me to cover it on my YouTube channel. So I guess I'm sorry if this was not the video you were expecting from me, but I thought it was interesting to look at how celebrity endorsements could potentially backfire and harm the presidential candidates those celebrities endorsed. I also have to admit I could not resist the temptation of doing a video on Taylor Swift. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it was equal parts educational and entertaining. At the very least, I hope you guys found it worth the approximately 10 minutes you spent watching it. Time is the most valuable thing you have, so use it wisely. Thank you for making it to the very end with me today. Please give this video a like if you liked it. If you really liked it or you're intrigued and you want to see more from me and more from my channel, then please subscribe. You won't regret it. I hope anyway. Love you all to bits and see you all next Saturday.